Hi, Professor Ahmed, and whoever else might be listening. I am Jessica Lamoureux, presenting my project with the intent of analyzing the book, The Goal. Here is my agenda for what I am going to cover over the course of this presentation. First, I am going to go over my reflection of the goal and provide my opinions on the success of this book in terms of how it presented guidelines for successful operations management. I will also go over some insights that I would find valuable for management professionals. Following the reflection, I will go over some key lessons that I could attribute to the book. I will also go over the real life process in relation to my career at Lear Corporation. I will provide details and visuals on the creating of the company seats that are made with the intention of serving our main customer here in Flint, General Motors. Following the process mapping and analysis, I will conclude my presentation with a simplistic view of the book, The Goal. Now that we have the agenda out of the way, I was going to go over my reflection of the book, The Goal. The operations improvement guidelines outlined in the book gave me a much clearer understanding of what the supply chain management process entails. It helped give me a deeper connection between the class material and the real life expectations at the plant that I work for, which is Lear Corporation here in Flint. Before I started the book, I was hesitant simply because I was intimidated by the class material. I was concerned that the information was going to go right over my head, but thankfully, I was wrong. The material was easy to understand and could be easily applied to real life situations. But in particular, I was thankful that I could connect it so much to my job since it was representative of the manufacturing environment. The book definitely provided some valuable insight for managers. These include, but are not limited to, ideas on how to resolve bottleneck issues, as well as the importance of tackling these bottlenecks before they become a serious problem at an organization. The book also went over the importance of making sure the company's finished goods inventory is at an appropriate level, and this also included materials in general, whether that be on the line or that be in an area for raw materials. The book emphasized the significance of combating the issue of deficits of materials as well as having a surplus of materials in any area of the production line. It also hinted at the value of knowing your strengths and weaknesses as a leader and knowing when to reach out to your team and to use their resources and knowledge to your advantage. The book also highlights how critical it is for an organization to have great communication and collaboration amongst leaders and those who work directly with the product. Every part of the team is essential to the success of a well run organization. These key lessons from the book provide significant takeaways that can apply to my career anywhere I go, but it will be very prevalent with my time at Lear. These key lessons I see as a direct reflection from this book include those who do not expect or want to lead tend to make great leaders. Work life balance is important for both your personal life and your career. Communication skills are a must as a manager. Knowing your weakest link gives you the ability to improve it, and outside perspectives can be beneficial when trying to solve an issue. With these key lessons in mind, I want to connect them with my current and future career at Lear. As someone who strays away from leadership roles, I am often told that I can lead. This has been told to me time and time again. And my boss at Lear, the controller of the Flint plant, Debbie, has expressed that I would be someone who could excel in a leadership role. I think that the main character in the book, Alex Rogo, felt the same way. He may have been the plant manager, but that does not inherently make him a leader. And he certainly did not feel like one at the start of the book. Originally, he does not take enough initiative in his role, which is represented in how his plant was failing and on the brink of being closed down. As soon as he realized that was at stake, he went into action. With the help of an outside perspective, Jonah, he is able to tap into his leadership abilities and is able to lead his team and the whole plant to success. Something else that was big in this book was the importance of work life balance. Balancing my personal life with my professional life will be beneficial to my success at Lear. In the book, Alex has some marital concerns with his wife. Thankfully, as the book goes on, the couple regains their communication skills and resolve their issues in terms of Alex always being gone at the plant. This is something that I can certainly take away from the book. and make sure to give enough attention to my husband and my family, as well as completing my necessary tasks in the workplace. Although communication is a skill that I need to work on, the goal gave me a great perspective on the importance of building my communication skills. Whether or not I am in a leadership role, open communication is a must with my spouse, as well as within my team at Lear. With the idea of help from outside perspectives and knowing our weak points in the plant and the office, learning what is happening on the floor of the plant can help me in my endeavors in the finance department. The reality of knowing our weak points and our bottlenecks will help the finance department work more smoothly, even if it is not noticeable at first glance. So the plant here in plant, the sorry, the plant here in Flint works in a line process. The process mapping that I have illustrated here shows the making of the rear seats for pickup trucks at the plant. I included the sub side, which consists of just two operations for the rear seats, and then I have the JIT side of the plant following behind with the steps in the process of making the seat. There is a considerable amount of time required on the JIT side, but the line is still fast moving and appears to keep up with demand rather well. First, I want to go over the cycle times on this process smooth. Since there are so many workers contributing to making this seat, I consolidated the process a bit more than what it would appear if you were in the plant watching each step get done. The subside of the plant only accounted for 3 minutes and 5 seconds of the cycle time total, whereas the JIT side was on the upside of 39 minutes and 40 seconds of time, which you can see the breakdown of that time frame on the right side of the slide. Not included in these figures, after the heater step, it did take a significant amount of time to get the finished goods inventory, to get the seats to finished goods inventory, which could have accounted for about 8 minutes of time to be placed in its final position in the FGI section of the plant. Looking at this process map, you can see that the bottleneck was the heater. I did add in an extra couple of minutes for the last minute adjustments before heading into the heater, but even when taking that into consideration, the heater is still very clearly the bottleneck in this process. Following quickly behind the heater for the bottleneck would be the time it took to transport finished seats to the finished goods inventory section of the plant. While on the line and speaking to the workers, the only real concerns had to do with defects being brought back to be fixed on the JIT side and the lack of available employees on the sub side. Since the sub side is not directly on the line causing holdups, the lack of employees did not seem to affect this part of the process that much. Although with the described absences and employees on medical leave and maternity leave, I would suggest one thing, and that would be to have some kind of form of substitute employees, whether that be supervisors filling in or having employees on call. I think that they could help, that could do more to help with the issues in terms of lack assigned personnel to this section of the plant, even if it is just for morale. When looking at defects, I spoke to one of the master builders who have the responsibility of fixing seats that were not constructed to company standards. He informed me that the average amount of seats he would see in a shift that had to come back around for these adjustments were about 30 seats per shift. So considering there are 3 shifts, I figured that would be at about a 7% defect rate. This would certainly add on to the process, but maybe that indicates that the process needs to be broken down further. For example, on some parts of the line, employees are doing more than one action at their station. Something that could help to possibly prevent these defects could be to the amount of actions that an employee is making at each station. I did also see some employees stray from their workstations to get materials. Maybe this act of having to move from their stations could be both affecting the line time as well as affecting their attention to detail. So improving on this area to stop the necessity of workers moving from their area on the line may help to lower the amount of defects and could also help to improve efficiency on the line. With the bottleneck in mind, my main suggestion to improve the flow of the process would to have 2 separate heaters for the lines to go through. So split that line into 2 right before the heater. This would make it so 2 heaters would be operating at the same time and could kick it up to 8 units per hour going through that process of the line. Although with this adjustment, there is a possibility of the section leading to the finished goods inventory to become a bottleneck, but by that point, I do not think it would negatively affect the current process. The reason I think the bottleneck would shift is because it was taking about 8 minutes for the finalized seat to get transported by machines to its assigned area in the finished goods section of the plant. If this did in fact cause a bottleneck in this area, I find it unlikely for this to slow down the products enough to affect General Motors getting the required materials that they need throughout the day. The capacity of this process, based on my analysis, would be 4 units per hour. Although this is just a snapshot in time, looking at these figures may indicate that capacity does not quite meet the demand. This is also just looking at one small portion of the plant. Although looking at the plant from a bird's eye view, I know that the process has sufficient capacity to meet demand. The Lear plant in Flint has a successful record of 51 seats per hour on average. General Motors has been our customer at the Flint plant since opening in 2019. When GM needs more seats, Lear plans scheduled shifts ahead of time for our line workers to work on Saturdays when necessary, and that could be anywhere from 1 to 3 shifts depending on GM's needs. These Saturdays come and go depending on the demand of General Motors and whether or not the plant can complete these needs through the regular work week, Monday through Friday. General Motors overall seems to be satisfied with the throughput time, and when the company is not, Lear is sure to schedule out ahead of time to keep the supply in check for GM's needs. The book The Goal had a great way of explaining the manufacturing environment in a simplistic manner that made it easy to understand. With this knowledge, I could easily connect the important lessons to my career at Lear, and it helped me to better understand the importance of supply chain management. And that about wraps up my presentation. Thank you so much for listening this far. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Thank you so much.